r/ask Reddit. What's something you wish was illegal? When job advertisers don't put down how much the job pays but the application asks what your salary expectations are, it's ducking bullshit. No one wants to put a high number because they're afraid of pricing themselves out of the job, so they end up putting a low number and getting underpaid by the duckers. Always put negotiable. I was just interviewing with somebody and I told them how much I hate giving a number first. I don't want to say $4.7 million a year and have you cut off communications. And I don't want to say $30,000 a year and have you only pay me that. Most companies seem to take that well. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that question. Like say some ridiculously high number. It'll get a laugh and then they'll tell you the range. Robocalling. I was at Verizon buying a new phone the other day and the salesperson was showing me all the models that would be good for me. He was like, also, these newer phones don't get nearly as many robocalls. I said, did you really just try to feed me that line? Yeah, I don't know what I was. We both just started cracking up. My god. Can you imagine your cell phone provider robocalled you through a proxy based on how outdated your phone model was, all to get you to buy a new phone that gets less robocalls? IDK if it's a feature on other phones, but I have the Google Pixel 2 and when I get a call, if it's been reported by enough people as spam, the whole screen lights up red when it's ringing and says suspected spam caller. I also have an option to screen any call, and it robo voices them back saying that I'm screening the call, and I can see their speech translated to text in real time on my phone. Usually this just gets them to hang up, but if not, I have the option to report a spam or answer. So in a way, it kinda almost helps fight the robocalls, except those duckers that use the same area code and first 3 digits of my number. That's specifically a Google Pixel and to some degree a Google Fi feature. Many carriers also have spam blocking services. Some paid, some free. You know those ads on the internet that say there's a store clearance sale and everything is 70% off, but when you follow the link the shirts are like $60. It's like, you mean to tell me the regular price for this shirt is $200? That. In some places, it is illegal. In the EU, if I recall correctly, if you advertise a price reduction then the unreduced price must have been in effect for a certain length of time. So, if you want to bump a product to $100 so you can then drop it to $50 and advertise it as 50% off, it has to have actually been on sale for $100 for an appreciable length of time, or else the 50% off bit counts as false advertising. Awesome. Definitely will put JCPenney and Macy's out of business. To be fair, Macy's tried to advertise their products at the regular price they wanted to sell them for, but then customers got mad that they ended their sales and they had to pretend things were on sale just to stay in business. Didn't even change the prices, just pretended there was a sale and people were into it. Purposeful misinformation by the media. This would never happen because it would be really hard to prove though. This is the sort of thing where there's a real danger of abuse depending on who gets to decide what is purposeful misinformation. Can't we just have news outlets cite their sources? It's crazy that I had to cite sources for research papers in school and people informing the entire country can just say whatever crazy shit they want. MLM businesses. Pyramid and Ponzi schemes are illegal, but MLMs have managed to slip through a loophole even though they are basically the same thing. Similarly, schools with no accreditation toward whatever they're geared towards, like nursing schools which often operate near impoverished areas with a lot of immigrants who let people pay exorbitant fees for 2 years and show up to classes that are then basically useless. These prey on a similar demographic. Beauty pageants for children. I'm so happy to know I'm not the only one who thought toddlers in tiaras was the most disturbing shit to ever be on television. 9 out of 10 people who watched that show did it so they could gawk at and or hate watch the people who were legitimately into that scene. I don't think that many people were actually into child beauty pageants. Cutting employee hours to avoid giving full-time benefits pay. Labor laws in general need a reform. For sure, favoritism and bullying in the workplace also need to go away for good. I'm not one to be easily put down by supervisors, but I gotta say, being berated the second you walk in the door before you even clock in kinda ruins your whole day. My favorite was a job I had back in college. I was a front counter associate at a Sears Auto Center. The job was shit. The pay was shit. The company was shit. It was impossible to retain any decent technicians. We mostly got college trade school kids who would immediately take a job at the many dealerships across the street when they could. I don't blame them at all and usually supported them. The staffing retention got so bad that for a while I was the sole person running the front shop. We didn't even have a manager. And we had only one tech. A two-person auto shop basically. I of course had to work like 60 hours a week and young me took that money in stride. They worked me 60 hours a week for 15 weeks in a row. Shut down the entire auto shop for a few days during on week 16 so I would only work like 12 hours. Rinse and repeat. Entirely just to avoid promoting me to full-time. Listening to music on your phone speaker in public. Nobody wants to listen to your shitty rap. I'm just trying to take the bus home FFS. The worst is when you're out hiking in the nature and you know someone else is hiking with a boombox because you can hear it breaking the silence. What the duck are they even doing? That would be annoying, but I have a little bit of forgiveness because maybe they thought they were on their own. If you are on a bus with people around you, you know they are hearing what your phone is doing. It's just the next level of a sholishness. Same for having conversations on your phone with them on speaker in public. Someone boarding my plane last week was blasting terrible music from her phone in her pocket. Everyone was just staring at her in disgust. Once when I was about 12, I was flying alone and playing on my Game Boy while listening to music on my MP3 player. I realized maybe 30-45 minutes later that I had the sound on my Game Boy and felt like a total a-hole. If anyone here was on that flight, I'm really sorry. When I was 12-13 I was at the public library playing games on the computers till my mum picked me up after school and was blasting Green Day through my headphones. Wasn't till about 40 minutes later when my mum came that she told me my headphones were only half plugged in so it was still playing out of the speakers. I have no idea why no one said anything. Salary employment where they expect you to work an extra 5 to 20 hours a week every week. It blows me away how much less other countries work than America does. In other places 40 hours would be seen as a lot while here working only a 40-hour week is the dream. Bright ass blue headlights. My night vision isn't great to begin with, but once I have one of those herp look at how boss my truck is. People or B. Fast and the Furious wannabes. With those ducking things and they start reflecting off my mirrors and glasses I can't see shit. Already illegal. Poorly enforced. There's certain super bright LED headlights that are street legal in a number of states and just as bad for other drivers. I was at a stoplight a few days ago, and this guy pulls up in the oncoming lane. I felt certain that he had his high beams on, so I gave mine a little flick to let him know. Then he gave his a little flick, and it went from me thinking he had his high beams on to staring directly into the sun. WTF. Walking slowly in a big group, 6 people wide. Get the duck out of the way. How else are people going to know it's the opening credits to my sitcom? Though, there's plenty of other things you can do. Turning to the camera and smiling. Dancing in a fountain. Sitting in a coffee shop. Hanging out in one of your group's extremely large rent-controlled New York City apartments. Really anything from Friends. All the spam mail in my mailbox. I don't like that some of the most important documents in my life come via USPS, and in that same box is 5 different pieces of mail that are spam and 15 that are ads for shit I'd never buy. I don't understand how these companies can spend so much on printing and mailing garbage to thousands if not millions of people. Wouldn't it be more profitable to just keep the money? Pop-up ads. The creator even regrets creating them. Ad blockers are a godsend. And necessary these days. Too many ads contain malware in them. Leaving your shopping cart right next to your car when you leave the grocery store. Walk the 10 steps. Put that thing back where it came from, or so help me. Ugh, my aunt is one of those people. She says it makes it easier for the next person because they don't have to walk for a cart. No beach, you're blocking the parking spot. Plus nobody ever takes it. The ones that are just left most people assume have a ducky wheel or something. We used to have people leave them in the entryway where every person has to walk by it, facing the entrance, but 8/10 people will just go in and get a new one. Civil asset forfeiture. Wasn't there a recent Supreme Court decision that overturned most of it? It's weird. Kind of. They ruled that excessive fines per the 8th Amendment does incorporate to states. This means that if cars, money, etc. are taken as a fine, it can't exceed the statute in penalty. The problem is that some places allow fines as a coercive measure instead of a punitive one, which could get around the ruling. So Too Long didn't read its early stages, but it's progress on the road to overturning it. Also, disclaimer that law is merely a hobby of mine and I am not a lawyer. Allowing police to lie to a suspect during an interrogation. They can tell you failed a lie detector test when you haven't. They can say someone has given them information about you when they haven't. They can say you only need a lawyer if you're guilty, then deny you ever asked about getting one. They can interrogate you for hours and hours non-stop, telling you that you'll be put in a drunk tank with 10 dudes and no toilet or bed for days if you don't answer their questions. This shouldn't be the way criminal justice works. As a citizen, you should never speak to the police without your lawyer, period. I'm studying for the exams to join my country's police academy. They require you to pass a previous physical theoretical exam before joining. They should learn from this on the USTBH. And yet I refuse to speak to the police if I'm a suspect of any kind of crime. Last summer I once got arrested for a fight I hadn't been on because I matched the ducker's description. I refused to speak when they threatened me with "you're staying here for a while until we find out what happened" and shit like that. Once my lawyer got there in 30 minutes, I was walking out the front door with the guy who arrested me saying he was sorry. People just panics out and starts saying dumb shit and eventually contradict themselves. I'm 100% sure I would have ended up being charged with assault if I spoke with the police instead of just saying I will remain silent until my lawyer arrives. They need a suspect. They will do anything to find it. The entire concert ticket scalping reselling industry. Puppy mills. Those are actually illegal. It counts as animal cruelty and therefore are not legal. They technically are illegal, but it is very easy to get around the rules and operate with terrible conditions for the dogs. There aren't enough inspectors and some states don't have tough enough laws against it. Also, being able to sell dogs online only makes things worse because they can put whatever pictures they want up on their site and hide any issues pretty easily. Celebrities endorsing stuff lying about how the product was effective for them. I remember ages ago, some company, can't remember who, emailed Scott Disick and asked him to tweet about their product and told him what to say. He simply screenshot the email they sent and tweeted it. Lobbying. What do you think is keeping all these things that should be illegal legal? Yes and no. Campaign finance laws need to tighten up so that corporations have less of an influence. But at the same time, lobbyists who represent certain groups are incredibly useful and even necessary in the public policy process. We cannot expect our representatives in their offices to know everything about everything. This is what lobbyists are for. They know their industry. Talk to one, and they'll give you a partial truth. But talk to 5 different ones all representing different aspects of an issue and you can get a pretty clear picture of what is going on. I don't think taking to the government in an effort to persuade them to do something should be illegal, but the shady donations and other benefits definitely need to be cracked down on somehow. Not using turn signals. Technically illegal but not enforced. It's great that you're saving like a 1,000th of a calorie by not flicking the turn signal, but to accomplish that you're being a complete ducking dunt. I had a co-worker who got a ticket for not using a turn signal. She was bitching and complaining about it at work and saying how there wasn't anyone around anyway, so who cares. I really wanted to point out that obviously the cop was around. People should just be in the habit. People also seem to forget that cyclists and pedestrians also rely on our turn signals. I could be out in the middle of nowhere at 2 AM and I'll still use my turn signals even though I'm sure I'm the only one around for a few miles. Like if you just develop the habit when you're learning to drive, you never have to even think about it. Radio ads that have a siren or car horn noise. Nothing like being startled while driving in rush hour traffic. Related, TV ads that have a doorbell door knock. I have 4 dogs. What fresh hell are you trying to put me through? Obscenely loud motorcycles. You know the type. Loud as a motorbike but wouldn't bust a grape in a food fight. Reminding someone that it's your birthday 30 days before and every day leading up to your actual birthday. Sheesh, I hate the birthday month people. Starting a Black Friday sale on Thanksgiving. It is illegal in my state. They just make their employees come in at midnight. Cable internet companies with regional monopolies. Politicians lying. There should be some sort of punishment. Tell a lie. Have a tooth pulled. I think some people would owe teeth then. Out of teeth, out of office. Being a televangelist, there's literally never been one who isn't a scummy con artist. I have always thought mega churches should be treated differently tax-wise than your average church. My area has tons of local churches and they are mostly good. They do charity, practice their religion as they see fit without any problems, and are overall good members of the community. They often struggle financially. A friend of mine who is very involved in her church told me many of them struggle to pay their pastor and keep the lights on. Those churches should never pay a dime in tax. The mega churches with millions of dollars in assets and a global television audience should be taxed. Transport trucks in the left lane. I fucking hate this so much. The worst part is that they are never quick about it either. It's like they go, well, the guy in front of me is going 54 miles per hour. Better pass him at 54.25 miles per hour and hold up traffic for the next 10 miles it's going to take to pass him, and then everyone else's comfortable 70-75 miles per hour pace gets slowed to MLS's 54. Homeowners associations. Ugh. They are the bane of my existence. I hate the things. They are horrid. And they are so damn crooked they could give the mob lessons. In fact, I'm sure that here in Vegas, a majority of them are run by the mob. Fuuakoas. HOAs are a perfect example of something that can be useful in a narrow scope, yet there is a 99% chance it will be abused. There is a very short list of things I would want to be handled by a HOA, but I would rather make do without one than risk it being abused or their power creeping beyond that short list. Parents being able to give their kids stupid names. My cousin named his son Jarzon, like, with the capital X in the middle. I cannot begin to explain the rage I feel every time I fill out that kid's birthday card. My cousin realized that all her family members have 5-letter names and the name she had chosen for her third kid only had 4. Instead of just dealing with it, she decided to double one of the letters. This poor kid's name is Liam. I suggested adding a silent B at the end like an lamb or comb. Lamb. She thought it was dumb. I was like, that's my ducking point, Jamie. I'll bet I have similar rage. More than 5-hour work days. I need a life outside of work. My industry is switching to 4-on 4-off shift patterns. I've never been happier or healthier since I started it. I'm going to get hate from the biking bros, but I can't believe lane splitting is legal. I know the stats say it's safe, but those sport bikes move so quickly and can weave so sharply. It seems at any moment a bike could just appear in between lanes in the short time between checking your mirror and looking forward to merge. Not to mention it just seems like such a big risk from the biker's perspective, as people are terrible drivers and are continually distracted. Then you have the split lane width variability. What do you do when suddenly a large gap becomes small as a semi pulls next to a wide load trailer? Being anti-vax, refusing to vaccinate your children. With some exceptions of course. Immunocompromised etc. It is child abuse and simply dangerous to those around. Policing for profit, intentionally designing traffic patterns to trap people. I wish cigarettes were illegal. Second-hand and even third-hand smoke are real. Fortnite dancing in public. Sirens and ad songs on the radio. Awful. People driving at or below the speed limit while in the fast lane. Technically, it's the passing lane, not the fast lane. Not vaccinated kids. People need to get their kids vaccinated. People walking into your store literally 1 minute before closing. Currently dealing with this guy that wants one single thing and is still holding me up. Cancel culture. Campaign donations. If it's got anything to do with our government, I want representatives to all have the same reasonably sized budgets. I don't want companies affecting our politicians because they're forced to seek funding in order to bash each other for a year. Same goes for professional lobbying. I want the best politician, not the one with the deepest pockets, most corporate backing. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.